So welcome back to La Liga Talks. You might notice I'm on my own today. Ollie's been travelling. He went to the Real Madrid game at the weekend for their big win and managed to capture some content with Jude Bellingham. It's nice work from both of the boys there.
Great win, Jude. Another one on Wednesday now.
But anyway, today we have a great guest, Alex Ashmore. He's a reporter and he's going to be giving us some insight into what it's like to interview some of the biggest and best players in the world. So I'm here today with Alex Ashmore, a broadcast journalist and a reporter for Sporty TV, as well as a freelance pundit for Real Madrid TV. Alex, a pleasure to see you here.
Good to see you too. It's been, we've been talking about this for a week or so. It's good to finally get it down.
I know, I've been really looking forward to this interview, especially as at the end of this episode, you're going to be giving us a little workshop on how to do what you do, which is reporting in the sports industry.
I don't call myself an expert, but I like to think I've got a little bit of experience, so hopefully some little bits of information for you guys out there.
Well, let's go and let's have a seat and let's begin the show. So Alex, footballers know you for your height, but I know you as a close professional and somebody who grew up in the same part of England as I did, so Dorset, incredibly.
Yeah, I mean, such a small world when we met at the Atleti Barca game, and you were like, yeah, I'm from Yeovil. I was like, I don't think I've ever met anyone in Madrid from Yeovil, and then obviously hearing your voice, I was like, yeah, he's not Spanish at all.
Exactly, and it was that feeling, right, being on the pitch, doing pitch side stuff, and I was thinking there's actually two people from Yeovil here in an Atletico Stadium when they're facing Barcelona. It was a pretty incredible
I was
feeling.
thinking this yesterday. I was at Atleti Valladolid, and I was thinking, I wonder if there's anyone else in this stadium that's ever stepped foot in Huish Park, Yeovil Town Stadium.
Yeah, so from Yeovil to Madrid, it's not exactly a bad journey, is it? So yeah, I mean, the viewers, I'm sure they're going to be really interested to hear about some of your experiences. Obviously, you've met some of the biggest and best players in the game. Now, I want to ask you about some of those experiences.
Okay.
You to share, some of your experience with these players. So, I guess the best way to start is saying what's been your favourite interview? Well, let me ask you first. How long have you been doing the role? How long have you been?
I've been here. So I've been in Madrid about a year and a half, but I've been doing this role probably about 9 months now. I started in the summer just before the Euros last summer, and then obviously kicking into this season, and coming up to 9-10 months here doing this role. So relatively new to it, I guess, but as you know, in this industry, you pick up 9 months in this industry is almost sort of 5 years. The experience that you do every day, the amount of work that you do, it's 9 months sounds like a little bit of time. It doesn't sound like much time, but it's actually quite a lot of time.
And does it feel like a lot of pressure when you're? Did you feel the pressure? Are you getting used to it?
Yeah, I think I'm getting used to it. I remember my first interview. It was the Madrid derby back in September, and I was interviewing Alexander Soloth and Angel Correa, and I remember thinking, my God, a year ago I was finishing my degree back in England. I was on a beach somewhere in Devon or, hanging around with my friends. But here I am interviewing Alexander Soloth after a Madrid derby in La Liga, which was unbelievable. Yeah. So I do have to pinch myself a few times, and, I try and remain grounded and make sure that, I'm very lucky to be where I am and do what I do. So, no, I mean, it's been a brilliant experience these last 9 months, and to be able to do what I do and to meet all of these stars, like you said, it's something I've found myself getting used to, but I still have to, every so often, I think it's more when people say, when I go back home and see my friends, and they're like, wow, you met this guy? And I was like, I did actually, because for me it's just a day's work.
You always don't
get
process
used to
it, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure you're the same. You go back home and you're like, you were pitch side at this game, or you were filming interviews with this player, and you're like, I was actually, yeah.
Exactly. You mentioned you're finishing studying there. Again, for our listeners to understand how they could possibly make it into this sort of industry. What were you studying? What was your journey into this role?
Yeah, so I did a degree back in England at Exeter University in Spanish and French. So that was the languages, studying the culture, a bit of the history. But obviously you have that year abroad, so spent 4 months in Galicia, in Santiago de Compostela.
Wow.
And then 4 months in Montreal to do the French, which is slightly different to normal French. For those French speakers out there, you'll know it's slightly different. But I've always had a knack for languages. I never really knew what I wanted to do with those languages. It was teaching was an option, translation. I knew I loved football. And from a very early age, I realised I wasn't good enough to play football professionally. So I thought, what's the next best thing? And working in football is one of the next best things. So
absolutely right. So
yeah.
the same as me, that I dreamt of playing football firstly. I think everyone does,
yeah,
right?
Every young kid does.
And then as you realise, I'm not quite going to make this. I don't think I'm good enough. Like you said, it's the chance to be involved in the game still, right? And
yeah,
for someone like you get to be so involved in every part.
It's exactly that. And I think when I thought about, so I came to Madrid a year and a half ago to study a master's in communication and sports journalism, and it was from there that I started to realise, because I'd done a few podcasts growing up. I'm an international follower of Malaga Football Club.
Amazing.
Having gone on holiday there, and we started doing a podcast in English for them, and through that I think built up a little of experience in front of camera, doing stuff, commentary and that sort of stuff, and then you get more and more experience. And I think when I started to realise that I had a knack for it, so to speak, a skill, so yeah, just went from there and started in my current role about 9 months ago, and well, I haven't looked back since. Well, I have a little bit, and reflected nicely upon my time here in Madrid, and what better city to live in. It's a fantastic city to do. It's the capital city of football.
Exactly. Nicely put. We both come from England, right? And we know there's plenty of big football clubs in England, but what was it that made you choose Spanish football and La Liga?
It's a good question. I've always had an interest in Spain, in Spanish culture, the language. Been coming on holiday here since I was a little kid, and I think following Spanish football and seeing all the great players that have played here, Ronaldo, Messi, watching those games and thinking, how cool would it be to experience that, to live in Spain. And I lived in Madrid a year before I did my degree at Exeter, and studied, I taught English here for a year. And then from that, I think I kind of fell in love with the country, Madrid as the city, and the opportunity to not only work in Spanish football, to cover La Liga. It's been, I think for me, I've always had that interest in it. Yes, I love English football, and the team that I support, Yeovil Town, are not quite the big stars of English football, but I've always, growing up in England, you follow English football, but I think I always had that eye on Spanish football, and thought, the romantic in me has thought, how cool would it be to live in another country and to experience another culture, and to work in another football, in another type of football, because
it's not a bad country to live in, is it?
It's a fantastic country to live in. The weather, the food, the people. It's for those of you who haven't been to Spain, I would implore you to come to Spain and try the food, go to a football game, because the football here is special.
Football's crazy, and I had that feeling just the other day for the Sevilla derby we went to, and the celebrations after Betis winning a game that wasn't a cup final. It was just a derby, but it was celebrated as if they had won the World Cup final. It was quite incredible.
That's one of the feistiest derbies in Spanish football, and you see the passion there, and it's. I think that's also part of the Andalusian thing.
Yes.
Andalusia, the region in southern Spain, they've got that extra flamboyance to them, and they really wear their heart on their chest. And I think Real Betis and Sevilla, they epitomise that sort of feisty rivalry. And I mean,
it's a tight contest for me now, because obviously, like you said, you've got the Andalusia, the derby, and I've been to the Asturias derby quite recently as well, and that really packs a punch as well. I
mean, there's a few derbies across Spain that won't get mentioned in you talk about the El Clásicos, the Madrid derbies, but there are others out there. You talk about, obviously, Valencia, Villarreal, you talk about Real Oviedo, Sporty, Gijón. There are some derbies out there that are really feisty and perhaps don't get paid too much attention to internationally, because all the attention normally would go to Barcelona and Real Madrid, but there are some really good derbies out there.
Absolutely. And you're looking forward to the El Clásico. I mean, this is looking like an important one, right?
Yeah, I think this could be, I think at the moment Barcelona are, they're probably the favourites to win the league, but Real Madrid have picked up, obviously, an important win against Alaves at the weekend, and they will come into this knowing that they have to win this because of the head-to-head. I think if Real Madrid win this, it just equals that head-to-head a little bit and makes it easier for them, because if they finish on level points but lose the Clásico, that's it.
It's almost like 4 points in a way then.
It is, and you look at the importance of that game, and I think it could even come down to whoever wins that wins the title.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, at the time of speaking, 4 points is the difference. Would you back Barcelona from where we're currently sitting?
It's difficult. I think, given the way that they're performing, I think the weekend just gone with a result against Leganés, they won 1-0. Perhaps wasn't the prettiest performance, but they got the job done. They got the 3 points. Real Madrid and both teams obviously have got other competitions to look at, and they're trying to spread their bases and make sure that they stay competitive in those. And I think when you look at how this season's gone, it's been Barcelona leading at the front, and then Real Madrid went ahead, and now Barcelona are back in front. It's been a fantastic season of La Liga football, and the competition has been excellent, which is what we want to see. And I think at the end of the day, for a neutral, so when you look at how this season has gone, I would ever so slightly tip Barcelona, but I really wouldn't count out Real Madrid, as we
Refusing
know.
to write off Real Madrid.
You can never write off Real Madrid. We know how they're known for their comebacks and their ability to stay in competitions. And obviously Carlo Ancelotti is a really experienced manager, but what Hansi Flick has done at Barcelona has been fantastic.
So it's time for quick fire questions with Alex. So firstly, Alex, a day in the life of your work. What do you do?
It's a tough one.
The day to day.
I mean, usually we record a late show, so I probably start around 12, get in. We obviously have all the stuff to prepare for the show. What goes into, and this is something you don't realise before you work in TV, what goes into a TV show is a lot more. There's a lot more that goes behind the scenes, the banners that come up on the bottom, the graphics, the videos. So spending most of the day preparing that. Sometimes I'll be at press conferences and reporting from there. We do live connections, then we record our live show, and then obviously at weekends we go to games, so it'll be pitchside previews, interviews with players after the game. But I think my day to day is coming in, preparing the show that we have, and obviously you're always keeping an eye on what's going on in the world, any events, so that you can go and cover them. And then we do our show, and well, with a heavy focus on La Liga at the moment, given how this title race is going.
Funniest player you've ever interviewed?
Funniest
interview you've ever conducted?
Yeah.
Most memorable even?
To be honest, I think I would have to say Alexander Soloth. I think there's been two interviews with him that have stuck out in my memory. The first one where I interviewed him, and he was obviously, he's a tall bloke, so he's going to be used to being the tallest guy in the room, and now he's stood next to me, who's a little bit taller than him. And then I interviewed him the second time, and he said, I showed all my friends, or my friends were all sending me this interview going, well, how are you smaller than this guy? And then again he said, I showed this to my girlfriend, and she's like, you're used to being the tallest guy in the room, but you're not.
It's quite the shock for Soloth.
Yeah, so that was probably the funniest, I think.
World's tallest man, huh? We meet again.
We meet again.
I showed the video of us to my girlfriend, because normally I'm always the tallest, and she was, what the hell? So funny.
Well, we're here with Alexander Soloth again. We're making a habit of this, Alexander. You score, you talk to me. Is it good luck? Am I bringing you good luck?
You have to come to every game because you're my good luck charm. It's obvious. So yeah, hopefully you can come to a lot of games. Nicest
football player you've ever met? Someone you would just say he was just lovely to interview.
Nicest player. This is a difficult one. I think in terms of there are so many out there, but I think the one that always sticks out is Steve McManaman. He was really interesting to speak to, and I think obviously with his time in Spain, he's got a strong affinity to the city, and he really took the time of day to ask me about me as well, and he was asking me what I was doing. And so I think to speak to Steve McManaman was probably, I'd say he's the one that sticks out in my memory.
And is Steve McManaman still a strong Real Madrid supporter?
He is.
Perfect. Okay, so best day of work you've ever had, maybe the best experience.
Best day of work. This is a tough one. I think where I have to pinch myself was actually, I think last weekend was one of the coolest ones. Leganés Barça, doing our show pitch side, doing interviews on the pitch. We were recording, and on our show we had Gaisca Mendieta, of course, a La Liga ambassador, and the way that he his control of the English language as a Spaniard is fantastic, and the on-camera ability that he has, and the interviews we did. I interviewed Eric Garcia afterwards, interviewed Gerard Martin as well from Barcelona, and then Valentin Rossier from Leganés. Obviously a difficult result for him, but to be able to do that pitch side with Gaizka Mendieta, who I watched on TV growing up, to them working with him and interviewing all these players, I think that was probably one of the coolest moments of my career.
I've met Gaizka too. He's a lovely
He's
guy.
He's a really lovely guy.
Stands out.
Yeah, one of the nicest guys in the industry, I think.
Absolutely. Have you? Okay, so in that same sense, have you ever felt starstruck? Have you had the feeling yet of, oh, wow, this is like someone I really can't believe I'm meeting?
Yes, I met Jude Bellingham once, and that, for me as an Englishman, it was in his first season at Real Madrid, and you talk about the way that, I think as well for you, a Brit living abroad, you see Jude Bellingham and you're like, I'm proud that he's out there representing us. And to meet him, he's the nicest guy, as I'm sure everyone's heard. To see him and to speak to him, to have an interaction with him was really cool. So I think. And
what did you think of him? Has he settled in well?
Yeah, I mean, he's done fantastically. I think this season he's come on leaps and bounds. Although he hasn't been scoring as many goals and getting as many assists, he's still scoring at a good rate, and he's a key part of that Real Madrid midfield. And I think the way he's adapted to Spanish football so quickly, and also the maturity that he shows at such a young age. He's 21 and I'm 24, I'm almost 25. To say I'm almost 4 years older than Jude Bellingham, it feels a bit weird.
Strange,
but
right?
The maturity that he shows is someone of a 32-year-old. It's unbelievable.
He does. And at the top of the show, Ollie actually had a chance to speak to Jude Bellingham on pitch side, and I had the chance last year. And as you said, it's literally that. It's almost like that proudness of him coming over and dominating the league.
I've been
really well.
Delighted to see him do so well.
What's the best atmosphere? Your favourite stadium that you've visited so far?
I think Atleti atmospheres are always there's something feisty about an Atleti atmosphere. The fans really go at it there. I think in terms of an experience, it's really difficult. But to go to an El Clasico at the Bernabeu, there's something special about that.
I've never been. How is that?
It's something different. You talk about growing up, you talk about watching the Clasico, El Clasico on TV, and you talk about watching these players like Ronaldo and Messi, and now of course we've got players like Rafinha and Lamine Yamal, Jude Bellingham, Kylian Mbappe. These are players that are the stars of this generation. So I think to be able to experience that, to work at an El Clasico, and I actually had a moment of I had to stop myself. I think it was exactly 5 years on, my first game as a football reporter, Exeter versus Plymouth in 2019, 4 or 5 years on, El Clasico, Real Madrid, Barcelona at the Bernabeu. So it was a special one, and I think that has to be an El Clasico anywhere, whether it's at Montjuic, at the Camp Nou, at the Bernabeu. They're a special game. It's a special game to go to.
A player you'd love to interview? So you've mentioned Jude, I'm sure that's near the top, but is there another player you'd love to interview? And if you had the chance, it's a burning question, what question would you ask? So
a player I'd love to interview, this is a difficult one. I think seeing all the players in La Liga and the players that I've interviewed so far, I think the one that sticks out that I haven't interviewed yet is Antoine Griezmann. I think seeing him do so well for Atleti, obviously he's played at Barcelona and previously at Atleti, had that first spell there. To be able to speak to him, I think you see the stars coming through. Julian Alvarez, he would be a pleasure to interview. But I think if I had to pick one, given how much atmosphere there is around this player, is Kylian Mbappe.
Yes.
To speak to him, to interview him, I think I would be in awe of the man, because he's a star. He's one of the best players in the world. I mean, he's one of the best players in the world, if not the best. Yeah. So to interview a player like Kylian Mbappe, I think that would be unbelievable. And a question that would be. What would you ask Kylian Mbappe
if you had the chance?
That is the difficult question.
Put you on the spot with that one.
Maybe the burning question of, would you rather win La Liga with Real Madrid or the Euros with France?
Ooh, that would be good. That would be good to see.
Put him on the spot.
just like I've done with you there. Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Alex, everyone wants to hear your opinion. Top 5 La Liga players right now.
That's a difficult question. In no particular order, I think Lamine Yamal and Rafinha have to be in there. I think it would be rude not to include Kylian Mbappe, given he is at the top of his game. And as a sort of rogue shout, and this might be, there might be a little bit of bias involved here, given my Malaga fandom, but Isco, to watch him perform at this age,
beautiful player.
To see him do so well and continue to do so, a little part of me hopes that he's going to be part of that Spain squad in the 2026 World Cup. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be in the Euros last summer with his injury, but Isco and a 5th player. It's a tough one. I think to pick out a final one, I'm going to go with Nico Williams. Lovely. I think he's been really exciting to watch. Obviously, playing with his brother, I had the pleasure of interviewing Iñaki Williams, and I asked him about that relationship with his brother and to speak about that connection they have, and obviously growing up playing football together to them playing on the pitch at San Mamés, which is a special stadium. So yeah, I think to finish off that list, Nico Williams, I think, will be in my top 5.
Amazing. So without further ado, a part of the show I've been really excited about, Alex. I want you to give us, it's like a little workshop, a few tips for any aspiring journalists out there, any aspiring reporters, or anyone trying to get into the industry itself.
Obviously, the nature of preparing for an interview such as a flash interview, for those of you who don't know, a flash interview is the one that you see after the game. The players will be speaking to the rights holders, usually in the tunnel, and you have a few pre-prepared questions. I think of, obviously you have to ask them how the game went. You maybe ask them about their personal performance, if it was a win. Perhaps a question I always like to ask is, what was the message from the manager at half time? If they were behind, how did they come back? And just in general, I think preparing for those interviews, read up on the player. You obviously want to build that personal relationship with the player, and that's something that you want to break down that barrier, because obviously they're sometimes going to be speaking to you for the first time. You get to know a player, but if they're speaking to you for the first time, they're naturally going to be a bit guarded. So you want to relax, make sure they're relaxed. And I think introducing yourself before the interview, I always try and say, whether it's Kylian Mbappe or whether it's whoever it is, you want to go up to them and say, "Hi, my name's Alex," or whatever your name is, and just interact, break that ice, as you would say.
Don't let it be too awkward.
Yeah, and I think in general, not just on the interviews, speak to as many people as you can, whether it be people in the industry, people who aren't in the industry. You never know who knows who. You could speak to someone at a dinner party and they go, "Well, actually, my cousin's friend works in Spain or Portugal or wherever." And I think it's networking. We always talk about networking, but to speak to as many people as you can, even if you don't think they'll be a useful contact. You never know who they'll know. You never know what they can do for you. I think don't be afraid to put yourself out there, make your own content, to try and, whether it be producing Instagram reels, TikToks, to write your own match reports, write your own blog. It's stuff like that when you come
show your passion.
Yeah, exactly. When you come to an employer, you can go, look at all of this I've done and the experience that I've built up on my own, and it shows initiative as well. And I think to try and go to as many events, even if you want to work in football, don't just go to football. Go to tennis, go to badminton, go to whatever event it is. You could end up at a horse riding event.
Yeah.
Cover it. Do something, and I think just put yourself out there as much as possible. So I think, speak to as many people as you can, produce your own base of work, and go to as many events as you can. That would probably be my top 3 tips.
So a massive thank you to Alex. It's amazing to speak to you, and thank you for the advice you've given there for some budding young reporters. Guys, remember, like and subscribe. We love bringing you this content at LALIGA Talks. Alex, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully some useful bits of information for you guys out there, and here's to a fantastic end to this La Liga season.
Yeah, we hope to see you again soon. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.